And welcome into the Week 15 edition of the Consistently Cashin podcast here at Big Guy Fantasy Sports. I'm Colby Conway at Colby R. Conway over on X. Ron Rigney got himself another bye week this week. I don't know how that happened. Typically, you only get one.
It was a game time decision, and so he called off just in time.
Hopefully, it's not a George Pickens situation where it's a game time decision, then somehow misses 2 games out of the blue. So hopefully that's not the case. But pinch hitter, waiver wire edition for the Consistently Cashin Show. Bob Lung is here to talk a little DFS and DraftKings. And Bob, I'll ask you kind of two things here. How's everything going for you? And then also, just how much is weather going to impact this slate for us?
Yeah, no, things are going great. Obviously, the holidays are right in front of us, but yeah, there's a lot of bad weather out there this week. As we mentioned on the Prop It Like It's Hot show, so make sure you check that out for the prop bets. 8 out of the 9 games outdoors, so not in domes, have some chance of rain and high winds. So check that out. Make sure as you're making these picks, look at the dome games that certainly make a big difference this week. We've got 2 Monday night games, so we actually, which I didn't realize until I just saw that. I guess we do. Okay. So it's going to be interesting. I think we need to look at those games that are indoors just to protect ourselves, to try to score a lot of points, because that's the goal of this game, if I'm not mistaken.
You are absolutely right. Most points wins. That's how it goes. And we're looking to build a cash game lineup with some consistent players and get in the money. Our lineup we had last week scored a ton of points, but just missed the cut for cashing, as it was a pretty high scoring slate overall. But in week 15, obviously, Buffalo, Detroit, everyone's pinning that as a potential Super Bowl preview. I imagine we would get some exposure to that game in one way or another. But looking at the quarterback spot, Bob, I mean, Josh Allen, 8,500, he's the top dog and well worth it. I cannot get to Josh Allen in a build because there are quarterbacks substantially cheaper that I just find myself gravitating to. So as we go to select our quarterback here, are there any in particular that kind of catch your eye? And can you even make a case to get up to Josh Allen?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, as much as you like to say yes, but I just don't think it's possible. That's a heavy price tag to pay. And and there's, like you said, there's people that are, $2,000 cheaper that are playing on the other side in the same game. So maybe we take a look at that dude. He might be kind of beneficial.
Yeah, Jared Goff's obviously going to be on the board. Other ones, when you look at it too, I can't quite get to CJ Stroud as much as I want to, but I can do Tua at 6,100, throwing for 300 plus in 3 straight games. You also have Kyler Murray right below and Justin Herbert. I honestly, on a point per dollar basis this week, of course, if you have the money for Josh Allen, more power to you. I would like to know where your budget's going, because I just can't get there. But for me, it's Goff, Tua, Murray, Herbert. It's one of those 4. It's just a matter of where you go. Over the last 4 weeks, vote of confidence for Murray, because New England has allowed the most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. For the entire season, it's Tampa Bay. So there's an upvote to Justin Herbert. Ladd McConkey should be back. That gives him another weapon. So I just think money-wise, I think we're going to settle somewhere in Goff, Tua, Murray, or Herbert. So let's say amongst those 4, do you have a strong preference or lean amongst that quartet of quarterbacks?
I guess if I was going to pick one, I would go Tua. I feel like Miami still hasn't had that breakout game with Justin with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and just Tua exploding. I mean, he's been putting up 300-yard games, but we haven't had a big game, and I feel like this is going to be a shootout. CJ Stroud's only $100 more, but they also have Joe Mixon, and we talked about that. They may be using Joe Mixon a little bit more. As you mentioned in the Prop It Like It's Hot, HN has been not running the ball much. It's been more screen passes, those kind of things, quick outs. And so I feel like Tua's your best option. I'm not sure if that game, I mean, Herbert's certainly, but again, it's only $200 less. Murray's only $100 less. I feel like Tua has the highest ceiling here. He could go off for, 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, and this becomes some of the Bengals games we've been seeing of late. And honestly, Joe Burrow is a great one, but they're playing Tennessee, and I don't see that scoring a lot of points on both sides. I feel like the Miami-Houston game could be the game that people are forgetting about. They're all chalky all over Buffalo and Detroit. I feel like this Miami-Houston game could be the shootout of the weekend.
And we talked about it on the Prop It Like It's Hot show, but both Miami and Houston are bottom 5 in terms of passing yards allowed over the last 6 weeks. So they are allowing a little bit through the air. Let's lock into it because I do really like Tyreek Hill, and he is still affordable for us to use. So, but before we get to the wide receiver spot, let's take a look at running back. I already know your thoughts on Saquon Barkley, and if you want to know Bob's thoughts on Barkley this week, check out the Prop It Like It's Hot podcast teaser. I don't think we'll be paying the $8,600 price tag for him. Just a little teaser there. So at the running back spot, there's a couple of guys we just saw kind of the Rams kind of run it right all over Buffalo. You can make a case for Montgomery or Gibbs. There's some other guys down here. We also talked on Prop It Like It's Hot how Tony Pollard might get 25 carries against the Cincinnati defense and be good to go. I'm going to ask you about your running backs, but all I'm going to say is one thing really quick, and that is Chuba Hubbard to the moon.
Yeah, definitely agree with that one. I mean, we've already had that conversation. I mean, I think there's a lot of good ones down there. We've got Brian Robinson Jr. at 6,200. He's going against New Orleans, which is one of the lowest, one of the teams. I mean, I don't know if we can afford Derrick Henry, but the Giants are dead last in fantasy points against running backs. So we assume that might be a good one, but that's, again, a hefty price to pay this week. The Buffalo, Detroit, I can see Jahmyr Gibbs. But again, we got to look for value. What's down there isn't a ton. Just looking for anybody that jumped out at me that might be worthy of a cheaper price, but I'm not seeing too much anywhere.
I think for running backs, I think you can hang out with like a Henry type. I think you can hang out with like a Henry, Pollard, Hubbard, and Rico Dowdle. I don't think you need to do too much below 6K in terms of running back, because Hubbard and Dowdle are just getting a ton of work of late. Like, you can easily go with them, save up for money at wide receiver, or if you find yourself liking more value players at receiver, you can do exactly kind of like a combination of what we're talking about. Pay up for Henry, lock in Hubbard as your other running back with Dowdle, and get 3 kind of mid-tier wide receivers, get a particular tight end, and you can kind of work it. So I think we're going to have enough money for Derrick Henry, especially because we only spent $6,100 at a quarterback. So
gotcha.
Let's do this. Let's give King Henry the title of the RB1 spot. Let's put in Hubbard. I'm going to put in Dowdle for now at the flex, but that's something we can always move off of depending what we like. Let's head over to wide receiver here. Also, check out Prop It Like It's Hot if you want to hear Bob's thoughts on Jamar Chase. Another teaser. Don't think we'll be paying the $8,400 price tag for him this week, which is okay. Right there is Tyreek Hill at only $7,400 if you want to look at him to preserve the stack with Tua. Any other wide receivers that you kind of want to mention as well? I have some receivers that I like that we can look at, but I guess it kind of starts with, do we make Tyreek Hill our top dog because of having Tua?
I think it makes a lot of sense for sure. We might be going and adding to that stack at the tight end position, depending on the price tag. But yeah, that's definitely a good one there. There's certainly some other guys a little bit farther down, but yeah, I definitely like that one for sure.
So we'll put him. Some other guys I like down here. I love Cortland Sutton at 6,600. It might be a little bit of a tight squeeze for us there with him. Calvin Ridley at 59, just because it's anybody against Cincinnati. You won't get any complaint from me. We're not going to have enough for Terry McLaurin, so that's going to take that out. I think Adam Thielen's way too cheap at 5,400 with the workload that he's gotten late, especially in a PPR format, especially against this Dallas defense. I mean, this game's going to be close, and as we've seen, Thielen's going to get double-digit targets. So I'm going to put him in at 54 because that fits our budget. And then if we come down a little bit more, some guys that are kind of interesting down here, I'm assuming McConkey's going to be back, so I don't think we really need to look at like a Josh Palmer type. I'm not chasing the fantasy points with Tim Patrick. I think we're going to have to come back up into this $5,000 range. We don't have any exposure yet to that Buffalo-Detroit game. Khalil Shakir is 61. Jamison Williams is 56. Amari Cooper is 53, and he is coming off a game where he got 14 targets. Now, Keon Coleman is expected to be back, and Dalton Kincaid, I believe. So could be a little bit more added competition, but I do think we have to get some exposure to that game, and I don't think we'll be doing it from the tight end spot. Do you have a lean between Jamison Williams or Amari Cooper? It's only a $300 price difference.
I feel like Cooper has the more catches than Jamison, maybe less yards, but I think the total package gives him more potential for for more points. Jamison is one of those. He's very boom or bust. He could have 4 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, and he could also be 2 for 45. That's the problem we run into. I think Cooper has the potential, like you said, after last week's target fest, that could fit in a lot better.
All right, well, put in Amari Cooper. And looking at our money here, I think we're probably going to have to move Dowdle up. We might have to take Derrick Henry out looking at it. Yeah. But we'll see. Tight end spot, we both are enamored with the same guy, Jonnu Smith at 5,400. We are going to have to do some serious moving around if we want to get him. So let's say this. If we don't go with Jonnu, maybe we do want to preserve Derrick Henry. Are you outwardly opposed with Evan Ingram out going down to Brenton Strange?
Not at all. When he's been out, Strange has been the guy. But Strange was always the guy with, the other quarterback.
Well, true. It is. We are hitching the wagon to Mac Jones a little bit by doing that.
Yeah. I was looking a little bit farther down for cheapness, like a Tyler Conklin at only 2,800. This Stone Smart is 2,600.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, 3 for 54, 64.
Mm-hmm.
So could we take a flyer on one of them and then get Henry back in and Dottle? I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of is that's 2 people that are, ridiculously cheap in this aspect.
So we'd have 2,300 right now. The only defenses we could afford are the Giants, which we're not going to do that with Derrick Henry. The Titans, which we're probably not. If the weather's going to be really bad in Cleveland, it's going to be a lower scoring game. If we're not overly concerned about Kansas City putting up 25, 30 points.
Can't imagine.
The Browns defense isn't exactly a horrible look to preserve.
Right. I mean, they can bring pressure. They can get sacks, bad weather, windy, wet. There's always a chance for tips and interceptions, fumbles. If we can fly, I don't think it's a terrible idea.
So if we put the Browns in, that would give us Tua, Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard, Tyreek Hill, Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, Stone Smart, Rico Dowdle, and the Cleveland Browns defense in a sloppy weather game. I like it.
I do too.
All right. That'll be it then. Let's lock that sucker in for the Week 15 consistently cashing lineup. Once again, that is Tua Tagovailoa, Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard, Tyreek Hill, Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, Stone Cold Smart, Rico Dowdle, and the Cleveland Browns defense. That'll be the Week 15 lineup. Bob, let everyone know where they can find you and everything you got going on here at BGFS.
All kinds of great stuff, as we mentioned multiple times. Not that we're ever against self-promotion, but definitely check out that Prop It Like It's Hot. Get all the great stuff there. Colby's been hot with his parlays. I've been hot with my picks. So definitely check those out. Winning you some Christmas cash just in time for the season. And, of course, find all the great stuff. Colby, Ron, James Knight, all the great articles, all the great podcasts. So Bob _Lung on the Twitter machine. So thanks very much. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yep. Thanks for filling in a little waiver wire pickup here for the week with Ron on another bye week here. He's got the out designation, so it means we can move him into our IR spots, just like you can in most leagues there. You can find me over on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Colby R. Conway. Best of luck this week in Week 15 with your props, your DFS lineups, and, of course, the first week of the fantasy football playoffs. So best of luck and stay consistent.